Kalinga, Utkal, Odisha. From the dim dawn of the ancient history of India, this land, now known as Odisha, had been a bright gem in the tapestry of the Indian subcontinent. Ever since the great Ashoka found his enlightenment in this holy land, after the Kalinga War in the 3rd century BC, Utkal witnessed several dynasties, one after another, down to the second half of the 16th century. The rulers of ancient Kalinga established their colonies around Southeast Asia and became a great maritime state. The founder of the Gongo dynasty, Anantavarma Chodagonga Dev, built the great temple of Lord Jagannath. The poet Jayadev composed his immortal lyric Geeta Govinda. Puri became the prominent abode of Vaishnavism, with the presence of the great Vaishnavite Saint Sri Chaitanya. He flooded Odisha with the Bhakti cult. This prosperous land passed through a difficult period. Smaller Shamantu Rajas rose to power in the remote hill areas. Odisha was then plundered and ruled by the Afghans, the Mughals, the Marathas, and later by the British. The British entered the region in 1803. The first to revolt against the British was Boxi Jagobandhu, the chief commander of the King of Khurda. He led the rebellion known as the Pike Rebellion of 1817. The British suppressed it with much difficulty and arrested Boxi Jagobandhu in 1825. He died in jail in 1829, the first martyr of Odisha. However, the dormant fire of rebellion of the people of Odisha flared up during the great Indian uprising in 1857. It was Veer Surendra Sai who raised the standard of revolt in Sambalpur along with his 1,000 brave followers. The British were able to suppress the great rising all over India, but not in Sambalpur. Surendra Sai continued his relentless struggle for years after 1857. He was eventually captured with his followers in 1864 and thrown to prison. It was there he breathed his last and became a martyr and a legend for the cause of his motherland. The clarion call of the Rani of Jhansi, Lakshmi Bai, echoed throughout the length and breadth of India. Chaki Khuntia, also called Chandan Hajuri, the temple priest of Lord Jagannath, marched to join the war against the British and to fight along with her. He was arrested by the British before he could reach his destination. His meager property was confiscated. Even his livestock, 2 cows, were auctioned by the mighty British. However, the British force was frightened and dazed because of Birsa Munda. Tribal revolt spread like wildfire in Singhbhum, Kendujhar, and Balasore. Queen Victoria declared amnesty and promulgated the British Empire's domain in India. The National Congress was founded in 1885. In Odisha, the Utkal Sabha started to instill the spirit of nationalism among its people in 1882. The Utkal Sabha merged into the mainstream of the freedom struggle in 1889 by joining the National Congress in its session held at Bombay. A new upsurge of life flowed in Odisha under the leadership of Madhusudan Das. Gopabandhu Das founded the Satyavadi Vana Vidyalaya. The education imparted was in the nationalist line, inspiring students with the spirit of national consciousness. It was a man-making institution. Eminent educationists like Phokir Mohan Senapati, Nilakantha Das, Godavarish Misra, Acharya Harihar, and many others infused their intellect into this experiment. The first session of the Utkal Sammelani was held at Cuttack's Eidgah ground in 1903. That was a historical turning point. The spirit of nationalism burgeoned into a nationalist consciousness imbued with regional identity. Intellectual resurrection was the supreme ideal of the Indian nationalists. But in a continent like India, regional identities have to merge to achieve that goal. The Utkal Sahitya Samaj took this vital role under the leadership of eminent leaders and intellectuals of Odisha. Till 1936, Odisha was not a separate province. At different stages, it had been amalgamated with Bengal, Bihar, Andhra, and Madhya Pradesh. In 1919, Gopabandhu proclaimed, "Our nationality depends on our Oriya language. With the abolition of our language, there will be an abolition of our province." Hence, the question of a separate province of Odisha. This persuaded the British government to form a committee under the chairmanship of Sir Samuel O'Donnell for the demarcation of the boundary of the province. With the persistent arguments and counter-arguments between the British Raj and the Utkal Sammelani and the powerful moral support of the National Congress, Odisha was given recognition as a separate province on the 1st of April, 1936. Against the backdrop of volatile political situation in Odisha, Maharaja Krishna Chandra Gajapati took over the reign of the newly formed government. In the 1920 session of the Indian National Congress, the non-cooperation movement was adopted. Pandit Gopabandhu attended the session. On his return, he formed the Provincial Congress Committee and proclaimed, "Non-cooperation is the way to achievement." His message reached every nook and corner of Odisha, and the general public were enthused. The newspaper Samaj, founded by Gopabandhu Das, played a vital role in this historic movement. Like in other parts of India, the momentum of non-cooperation picked up like wildfire, and young men jumped into this movement. The students left their classes from schools and colleges. Even the Ravenshaw School and College of Cuttack, the breeding ground of intellectuals, witnessed empty classes. Fire engulfed foreign goods in remote villages as a symbolic support for the non-cooperation movement. The fire of the farmers' revolt engulfed Kanika in 1922. Gopabandhu was arrested and put to jail for his support to the agitation and for his condolences for the scores of men who died facing British bullets. Behind this backdrop, Gandhiji visited Odisha for the first time in 1921. On the sandy banks of the Kathojudi River in Cuttack, an ocean of humanity thronged to hear Mahatmaji. He inspired the people of Odisha and brought confidence in their national movement. The long smouldering fire of nationalism in Odisha got a new fillip. As a historical milestone, Oriya women came forward as outstanding Congress workers. Rama Devi, Malati Devi, Sarala Devi, Kuntala Kumari Sabat, and many others joined, sacrificing their traditional values to spread Gandhi's ideals. The untimely death of Gopabandhu put Odisha under the pall of grief. His selfless sacrifice and deep love for his country till his last days inspired his followers with renewed momentum. Gandhiji expressed his grief in young India. Though he is not in our midst in flesh, he is in our midst in spirit. Let that noble spirit guide the workers of Odisha.
गांधी की जय, महात्मा गांधी की जय, स्वाधीन भारत की जय, भारत माता की जय.
Odisha fulfilled his wish in a gigantic way when the salt satyagraha was raging in other parts of India. On the 6th of March 1930, on the occasion of Gandhiji's historic Dandi March, Iram, Ostoranga, Ichudi, Kakotpur witnessed satyagraha in a large scale. Bullets and batons showered on the non-violent volunteers. Top leaders like Hare Krishna Mahatab, along with scores of others, were arrested. Rama Devi and Malati Devi took the lead among women volunteers and faced the same fate of torture in Kuhudi, Rambha, Kujanga. While the civil disobedience movement continued unabated in other regions of India, the formation of the Banar Sena in Odisha was unique. With encouragement from Subhash Chandra Bose, boys of 11 and 12 years of age were mobilized to work as volunteers. The symbolic martyrdom of a 12-year-old boy baffled the British Raj in controlling the engulfing fire of revolt. Baji Raut, a boatman, refused to ferry British soldiers and fell a victim of their bullets. The anger of the people gave vent to serious consequences with the emotional outburst of poet Sachi Raut Rai. Under the leadership of Utkal Kesari, Hare Krishna Mahatab, Navakrishna Chaudhary, Biswanath Das, the Prajamandal burgeoned into a tumultuous organization and spread to different regions. Princely states like Talcher, Dhenkanal bore the maximum brunt of it, being the lackeys of the British Raj. Prajamandal agitators, carrying weapons from remote areas, assembled on the bank of the river Brahmani in Talcher. They were brutally repressed by bullets, gave away their lives to the tyrant Major Basil Gate. Raghunath Mohanty and Dibakar Porida took revenge. They killed him 1 year later during an uprising at Ranpur. Both were hanged and became martyrs. Dhenkanal was ravaged by revolting Prajamandal volunteers. Thousands of them marched from all directions to the palace for a showdown. The palace witnessed the fury of the mass. With the psyche of the Oriya people surcharged with the continuous revolt against oppression, there came the Quit India movement. Mahatma Gandhi asked the people to do or die for the sake of the nation. His call spread at lightning speed over the length and breadth of Odisha. With all the senior Congress leaders behind the bar, younger ones took over the torch of revolt. Ravenshaw College witnessed the anger of young student leaders. Offices were burned and records destroyed. Lakhan Naik, the young Adivasi hero of Koraput, aroused the Adivasis and flung them into the movement. He was arrested and hanged in Berhampur jail. Jajpur witnessed a massacre of agitators by the British force. Hundreds of people became martyrs. The Gurupal area of Balasore declared independence. The national flag was hoisted and a government was formed. Other regions also followed. Such smouldering of the revolutionary fire got surcharged with the formation of the Indian National Army in Singapore by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. The underground movement caught the imagination of younger people. Communication was established secretly between the INA and the revolutionaries of Odisha. The Rakta Bahini in Bhagalpur, an organized mechanism to defy the British administration, became effective. The Panchayat Raj of the national government was established.
आइन कानून भांगी दबा तर असरे जबरदस्ती आइन कानून भांगी दबा तर असरे जबरदस्ती असरे जबरदस्ती असरे जबरदस्ती असरे जबरदस्ती.
The Bhandari Pokhari police station at Balasore was attacked by a mob and set on fire. The Basudevpur police station was attacked by a mob of 5,000 men and women. Ruthless killing by the police put Jallianwala Bagh to shame. After the prolonged throes of the freedom struggle, the British had to quit India ultimately. The long-cherished dream of freedom took shape in reality on the 15th of August, 1947. To achieve this goal, the people of Odisha offered their tears and their blood that mingled with all the Indians. The prophecy of the venerable leader and poet Madhusudan Das was thus fulfilled. It is history but a living memory, recollects Malati Devi. Raj Krishna Bose, Radhanath Rotha, and many other freedom fighters. In memory of those who gave their yesterday for today, a lamp burns. never to be extinguished.